Have you ever wondered how these hard foam sweets are made? They can take the form of bananas, shrimps, or even peanuts. What they all have in common is their texture, which is a bit crumbly but chewy at the same time. With a bit of digging, I found out that they're a type of marshmallow, referred to as short grain marshmallows. Short grain marshmallows achieve their crystallized texture through the addition of icing sugar at the end of whipping the marshmallow. And this is known as the graining process. So, the question is, how do you make it from scratch? To make these, you will need a dehydrator or dryer that can go down to about 35 degrees C. Typically, these foam sweets are made without eggs, and so I figured a good place to start would be an eggless marshmallow recipe. As well as the standard ingredients for a marshmallow, you also need something to start the graining process. And the recommended way of doing this is through the addition of icing sugar after you finish whipping the mallow. The real question is, how much icing sugar do you need to add in order for the graining process to actually start? And at this point, I don't really know, so let's just say 2 teaspoons. One thing to note is that in all the articles that I've read, they recommend that you start with a marshmallow recipe that has a higher proportion of sugar than glucose syrup or corn syrup, and this is to help the crystallization process. For a taste from my childhood, I'm going to go with banana flavouring and colour them yellow. You can use any colour or flavouring that you want. To test how much of an impact the icing sugar addition has on the marshmallow texture, I'm actually going to split my batch in half, adding icing sugar to only half of it. When my mix was nice and fluffy, I went ahead and took half of it out and put it into one of my tins. And then to the remaining half, I added my estimated 2 teaspoons of icing sugar. I whisked that in and then transferred the mix to the second tin. Once in the tins, the marshmallows were allowed to completely set before I removed them from the molds and then chopped them up into small pieces and completely coated them with corn flour. In order to produce the characteristic crumbly and soft texture of short grain marshmallows, they must be dried to remove as much water from the structure as possible. However, even before drying, there are clear differences in the texture between the two batches. Those made without adding icing sugar at the end of whipping were very soft and had a lot of stretch to them. Conversely, the batch where icing sugar was added Although still squidgy, they did not have the same stretchy quality as the other batch and just tore. I transferred all of the pieces of marshmallow into my dryer, set at around 35 or 36 degrees C, and then left them to dry for about 24 hours. If your dryer is too hot, it could result in melting the marshmallow, so just be a bit careful. After drying, the differences between the two marshmallow batches are very clear. Those where icing sugar was added are very firm and have that distinctive crumbly but also slightly chewy texture. The batch where no icing sugar was added more or less have the same texture as before they went into the dryer, although they're a bit tougher and have a thicker skin on them. Overall, I think this was a pretty successful attempt at recreating these hard marshmallow sweets, and I'm pretty happy with the results. Let me know if you have a go at making them, and I'll see you next time.